Okay, I wanted to welcome everybody to our droidCon webinar series here, droidCon Online. We're really pleased to have some fantastic speakers here today. This is going to be a lot of fun. As usual, you all know that if you've been with us before, you know that I keep my remarks very, very short because we really want to get down to the meat of what our presenters today have to offer. So it's going to be a full program. We have 3 speakers. And we're excited for it. Just so you know, as usual, if you've been with us before, you know that all the videos are available at droidcon.com. And so everything that you see here today will be there. It will be indexed. You can search by text and whatnot. So that'll all be there. In fact, if you look in the chat function or of your window, in fact, that's the next point here to Q&A. We do our chat function here through slido.com. So make sure that right now, as you're joining us, before the speakers start speaking, go head over to slido.com. Put in the code 88610. That'll give us you'll be in the room for this particular webinar. We're going to hold off. This is different from how we've done it in the past. Typically, we've had after each speaker, we've done the Q&A, but in this case, we're going to hold off so that all 3 of the speakers can essentially be able to contribute to the Q&A. So we're excited about that. So please just feel free to ask your questions while they're coming in. If you look in the chat window, there's some extra instructions. You can also direct it to the speaker, the speaker's first name, put that next, then maybe a slash, and so that they know exactly who you are going to ask the question to. So that should be good. In the chat function, you'll also see a direct link to the Slido page. If you don't want to do that, put the code in manually, you can follow the link of the chat function. So that's the way we're going to do that. Also, if you see somebody that has asked a question that you think is interesting to you, something that you were going to ask, make sure you vote thumbs up on that in Slido, and those questions will then float to the top. Just for everyone's information, for next week is our last in the series of our droidCon online webinar series. We've been doing this since April. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. We think that this has been a really great educational opportunity, a great way for the community to come together in this coronavirus time. Last up for next week is going to be speeding up Android builds and fan out and building a DevOps pipeline with Bitrise. So make sure you head over to online.droidcon.com and register for that as well. Everyone knows in a couple weeks, droidCon EMEA is coming up. Make sure to have that. We're certain that if you've registered for this webinar, you haven't missed the fact that that's coming up as well. Without further ado, I want to introduce our speaker lineup for today. We have Hakon Strande from Microsoft, Cesar Valiente from Microsoft, and Andras Nemeth from Atlassian. And I apologize to Andras that the company name is not listed on there. This is actually a first for us. We have a major different time zones represented. Hakon is calling in from Seattle on the West Coast. Cesar and the rest of our droidCon team are here in Berlin, and Andras is in Australia, where it's 1 in the morning. So this is a bit of a stretch for us to try to pull this off, but we're really excited to have everyone with us here from all the different time zones. I'm going to turn at this point over to Hakon and then make him the moderator. So you're going to see my slides disappear, and Hakon should be able to come online with his microphone and camera any second now. I'm going to just click onto that, and he should be good to go. I'm going to click off my camera as soon as he appears, and I'm going to let Hakon take it away. And as usual, again, we're just going to transition to the next speaker as we go, and we'll hold the Q&A towards the end. There we go. Okay, Hakon, we should be able to hear you now, but we still can't see you.
Okay. That should be better right there.
You're ready to rock and roll. Go for it.
Okay. So I hope you could see the slide. I just wanted to thank you, Greg, for the opportunity to talk to you guys about the Surface Duo and dual screen devices. My name is Hakon. I'm here with Cesar and Andras. Cesar and I are on the team that builds the developer experience for dual screen devices. Our job is to make it easy and quick and simple to explore and enhance applications to take advantage of the new form factor. Today we're going to have 3 sessions, as Greg explained, and I just want to mention that we're also going to draw a Surface Duo from the 10 most upvoted questions. The originator of those questions will be in the drawing of a Surface Duo. So please ask questions and please upvote. Okay, so let me see if I can move on from this slide. So first, let's talk about why we're doing this. We believe that more screen real estate in your pocket is important, not only to see it more and do more, but also to be able to app switch less and context switch less, meaning you can see and do more, and you can have different contexts and different applications available to you as on the go. We believe that that allows you to move content between apps more easily than before through drag and drop. We believe that having two applications open at the same time in your hands is just as important as when you have a multi-monitor desktop set up in your office or at home. So there are many reasons for doing this. Microsoft obviously also has a hardware division, the Surface division, and the Surface Duo is an extension into the mobile space of the productivity experiences that we want to build in our Surface product line. So moving on, I want to talk a little bit about the hardware. Obviously, we're software folks here, but it's a pretty cool piece of hardware. It's super thin. I think it's the thinnest screen that's ever been built. Even when it's folded up, it's thinner than most mobile devices, foldable and single screen. The whole idea is to bring more screens real estate into your pocket. But we also have this cool 360-degree hinge that makes the device super flexible. It twists and turns, and you can do all kinds of stuff. You can use it as a book. You could use it as a video screen. You can use it as a typing surface. It's pretty remarkable in our opinions. So hopefully you'll like it as well. I wanted to share a couple of things from Microsoft application teams, the way that they thought about enhancing their applications for the dual screen experience. Obviously, things that drag and drop that's been on Google's capabilities and their APIs for a long time really makes sense when you have two applications side by side. And that also makes sense in a larger single screen foldable device or a single screen tablet device where there's multi-window support. But here, even the fact that there's a hinge there, it makes it we made it very easy to drag content between the two screens. There's some patterns in there that are pretty amazing. Moving on from that, we have the whole concept of talking to people, but also seeing what it is that you're talking about. So on a single screen device, sometimes you have to sort of flip between the content that you're talking about and who you're talking about. And when in a dual screen device or in a larger sort of slate and single screen foldable device, you can do both at the same time. So we think that's an important concept as well. And then we have things like being able to quickly do things while staying in the context that you're in. So let's say you're reading your email and you have some action items in an email. You can still see that email. You can read the action items. You can read the comments from others while you're working on, let's say, in a Word document or in another sort of application to do the action items that you were asked to do in that email. So I think that's a sort of a quick context switch between, one app and another, one action and another. Allows you to be more responsive. And then you have things like the two app combos that we support, where you can open up two apps at the same time. And in this case, in Mail and Calendar, you can basically read your responses on a topic, perhaps while you're looking at the next meeting, the location or the number that you're going to call for the next meeting to discuss that topic. So some ideas there from Microsoft on how to take advantage of these two separate screens. Let's talk a little bit about the software now. Surface Duo runs Android. Right now it runs Android 10. Obviously we're working on 11 and the OS is going to be updated over time. But the most important thing for developers is that you can basically use most of the programming languages options that are out there. In this case, right now, Kotlin, React Native, Unity, Xamarin, Flutter, and Java, and also the web standards like PWA and others. So there's a lot of different options for how to create these dual screen experiences. We have a lot of content. It's important to us that it's easy and quick to explore the value prop of dual screens for your application. And in the deep dive that's coming up that Cesar is going to take care of, he'll go into some of the ideas and some of the workflows there. But suffice to say, there's a website with all the documentation. There are GitHub repos with sample code and libraries and layouts and controls. There's a Duo emulator OS that runs on top of the Google emulator that emulates the device, and you can do a lot of testing there. And we also work closely with ISV partners like yourselves, share hardware, work iteratively in real time, engineer to engineer to explore these things for your applications. A little bit about the device and the additional sort of screen postures that you will explore and you'll come across. But first, I wanted to mention that to talk the same language, basically, when an application uses both screens on the Surface Duo or on the dual screen device, we call it spanned. If it was a single screen foldable, maybe we'll use the term maximize, but in our case, we use the term spanned because it's spanning across a physical hinge that applications has to reason over. We call that hinge the seam in most cases, but we also use the word hinge, and display mask API is one of the things we'll talk about a little bit later. The tricky bit maybe is that when an application is in portrait mode, the actual device, when it's spanned, when the application is spanned, the actual device is in dual landscape mode. And when the device is in dual portrait mode, the application is in landscape mode. So things to take care of and things to consider that all our content tries to do for you. I want to talk about the design patterns that we've come up with, and there's probably 100 more, but these are some of the things that we try to share to give the application developers an idea of how to extend and enhance their applications to take advantage of the two screens. I'll go through these in detail, but basically we have extend canvas, which they use the entire set of pixels on two screens together as one. You have the list detail view, which is basically like a list of content, and the selection that you've selected on one screen is then shown on the other. And then we have two page, which is basically a reading pattern. Kindle, Medium, Libby, whatever, letters from mom. You can read easily and sort of flick from page to page there. The dual view is a pattern where you basically see the same data and the same content, the same object in two different ways. And the companion pane is where you control something on one screen with controls and buttons and levers on the other screen. Just to go through some of these in more detail. So the extended canvas pattern, we imagine it can be used for anything that you can zoom around in, anything that you can move around in, such as maps, images, other content that where you want to sort of create as much sensory input to the user as possible. So you basically, show them everything that you possibly can across the two screens. Examples are maps and drawings and things like that. List detail, basically here's about email or maybe a list of photos or any kind of list context where you want to show the details of a selection of that list on the other, excuse me. And then you have two page, which I mentioned, magazines, books. You can imagine that when you have a two-page pattern, when the user rotates the device into a dual landscape device orientation, that maybe you want to, instead of a page view, you want to be able to scroll the content like you would on a tablet or a slate. Dual view examples there could be a salesperson doing some sales calls. He has a list of his clients on one screen, and he has a map of where those clients are located in the city he's in on the other. Another example could be doing some markdown text editing. You have the markdown editor on one screen, and you see the result, the preview of what you're doing on the other. 3D objects, you have the XYZ sort of coordinate space with the vertices on one side, and then you have the actual rendered 3D object on the other, and you can see what you're doing in each of the views. Companion pane, simple example is a game. You have controller on one, and you have the output of that controller on the other, obviously the game view. Other examples could be a photo editor, where when you are using the photo editor program on one screen, you can still have some of the controls, some of the manipulation levers. But when you then span the application, you'll have more real estate on the other screen to show more controls. And then you'll see the output of that control on the other screen. Some considerations around dual screen devices. Yes, there is a hinge in the middle, and yes, applications have to reason over that. But there is also a benefit to that, and that's that there is a clear distinction between the two screens. So it's easier for the user to understand that there's content on one screen that maps and relates to the content on the other screen when the application is spanned. It's kind of like dividing up a single screen foldable into two sections. So it's the same concept. And so all these design patterns that I talked about also make sense in a single screen foldable scenario. Some considerations, when you have application dialogues, the system dialogues all take care of this automatically. But when you have an application dialogue that is typically centered in your application today, you want to move that out of the from underneath the hinge to either one screen or the other. When you're having a bunch of controls and buttons and the interaction methods of your application, if you just have those span across the entire screen real estate that your application is running on, some of them are going to render under the hinge. So consider that you can move those out of the way. In this case, you have moved everything to the one screen, but that doesn't have to be the case. You can move some to one screen and some to the other. Just make sure that nothing's rendering under the hinge. And then when it comes to drop-down menus, for instance, you want to sort of have an offset on those so that they move up or down from underneath the hinge instead of coming displaying under the hinge. And when it comes to the layouts of your application, an example of this is Spotify, for instance, that have done some work to create a layout that doesn't render some of the album art underneath the hinge. In this case, you can see that they've moved the list on one screen and they moved some of the other UI to the other, but that doesn't have to be the case as long as you make sure that the hinge is reasoned over and split apart from the content. So getting ready for dual screen devices, there's a crawl, walk, run type 3-stage process that we believe in. And the first one is basically just testing it. Install the emulator, test your application running on one screen. This next one is basically using the existing Android APIs and libraries such as drag and drop, picture-in-picture, things like that to enhance your application. That makes sense on foldables, for single screen foldables, makes sense on dual screen foldables, makes sense on larger screen slates as well. And the third stage is basically where you take advantage of this specific form factor. Using the APIs that allow you to reason over the location of the hinge and split out content around the hinge area. And the first one basically means you test your application. Our goal for this OS, which is Android, but it's slightly tweaked to enable the dual screen experience, was app compatibility to be as high as possible. And we've tested, hundreds and hundreds of applications, and in most cases that works really, really well. But applications sometimes make assumptions on aspect ratio. They make assumptions on screen size. There are sometimes resizing issues, and so it's important to verify that your application runs well if you care about the dual screen form factor and that your application performs well on it. So incremental changes, drag and drop, key, we have samples for that. You can copy and paste the code into your application. Make sure that it makes sense for your application to be a drag and drop source and a target, or just a source or just a target, depends on your application and what it does. We have another sample that allows you to launch an activity from one screen to the other. That works when there's nothing on the other screen, because we never want to sort of hide things from the user that he or she is doing on the other screen. So if there's an application running on the other screen, an activity will not be launched on the other screen, but it will launch on top of the other activity on the screen that you are on, your application is on. But if the screen is available, you'll be able to launch that activity on the other screen, which can be used to keep the user in flow. For instance, in a texting application, you can see the text string, the thread of the text, and you can sort of author the reply to one of the people on the text string on the chat on the other screen. And when it comes to embracing the enhancements that we call working on dual screen experiences. We call them enhancing. Basically, we have two hero applications that shows how to use our SDK content, our layouts, our sample code to build two different applications. One that basically shows up the companion pane pattern, and one that shows up the list and detail pattern. And then let's talk about a little bit more what we are doing in terms of enabling enhancements. But bottom line, we wrote a lot of code to make sure that it's easy, to make sure that you have the tools and the content available to you to explore. And I'll share a few examples of those before I hand over to Cesar to dig deeper into the content. And the first one is the work that we've done with Google. So when we started this project, we realized we had to have an API for applications to reason over the location of the hinge. And so we did do that, and we had a private API, and we still have that private API. But now we'd worked with Google for the last several months to introduce the display feature API into the window manager Android X solution. And so this allows you to do the same thing that you can do with our own display mask API. Basically, it helps you know when your application is spanned or not, if a device is hinge based or not, and some other things that Cesar will go into. When it comes to our libraries that we've created to help development, one is called Core, and basically it is abstracts the display mask API that allows applications to reason over the hinge. It's basically mutually exclusive with the window manager. So if you're going to go that route, you don't have to worry about this. But the window manager API is still in alpha. So if you don't feel certain about that, you can still use this tool to build your application. And this API will be around forever. It won't be something that we are pushing now that we have a solution from Google, but it's still there and it will still be maintained. This library has two classes. Screen Helper basically allows you to query if your application is spanned, and the true-false answer is calculated for you, so you don't have to deal with the API. And then the Screen Manager, basically you can register for a callback on the spanned states, so that we'll get that information when the configuration changes. Layouts, we have a bunch of layouts. Two of them are Surface Duo layout, and then we have Surface Duo frame layout. The Surface Duo layout is basically a custom layout that displays views when the device is in single screen mode or in dual screen mode. It's a set of two containers it's a set of two containers in span mode and one container in single screen mode. The Surface Duo frame layout basically wraps any Android view and render it to one or both screens. The bottom navigation, Google has a bottom navigation component, obviously, and we have extended it so that you may use it in your application to move it to the left screen or the right screen or both screens very easily. And then you have the tab components. We have done the same thing there. We extended it to make sure that you can use it to move to either the left or the right or both screens. And then we have a fun thing, the hinge on this device, obviously, it's very flexible. It also has a sensor in it, and it tells the system what the angle the two screens are in relation to each other. But that sensor can also be queried by the application. So if you want to do something fun with your application based on the angle of the two screens in relation to each other, you can do that. The system uses it to save power and to avoid accidental activations when the device is folded all the way around, so only one screen is active. We've wondered what applications might use this for. One of us suggested the world's most expensive protractor, but that doesn't seem like a reasonable thing to do. So we're still wondering what application is going to do that, use that sensor for, but it's there if you want to play with it. In terms of resources, we have obviously documentations on Microsoft.com. We have code samples on GitHub. We'd love contributions to those, obviously. It's all open source. We have a download center SDK link, which is basically the jar file with the display mask API. And then we have some hero applications that you can play with and use code from. And we have about 30 or more blogs now that we have published once every week since February that kind of covers all the different areas of dual screen enhancements and questions and answers and things like that. So check those out if you're interested. And then we are on Twitter, and if you're interested, you can also talk to us directly, confidentially, if you have ideas and you have things that you want to share with us that you want to do in a one-on-one basis. And that's basically what I had to say. I want to remind you that we're going to draw one Surface Duo from the participants in this webinar. So, and we're going to look at the top 10 upvoted questions and pick from the originator of those questions. At this point, I'll hand it over to Greg to MC us further.
Okay, we should be able to make then Cesar, our next presenter here. We only have a small problem that I don't see Cesar here as one of our presenters at this point.
I see his video.
Okay. Cesar, yes, I see it. Really bizarre. This is the first time it's happened. I'm not seeing you in our list of people to be able to make a presenter here. Cesar, here, I think.
I took care of it, Cesar. You should be able to share your screen now.
Yeah, I see Cesar was in the attendee list, but not in the speaker list. Okay. There you go. Take it away.
Can you see all my screen and everything, right? This is the typical question that we always have to ask, but
no problems at all now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you everyone. Thank you, droidCon. Thank you guys for inviting us to speak here. So in my talk, what we are going to cover now is about how to build dual screen experiences. So before, Hakon has explained the different postures the device can have, the different dual screen patterns, the different tips regarding the UI or UX, and also he has gone through the different dual screen libraries and the window manager and so on. So what we are going to cover here is how to implement dual screen experiences, taking advantage of the different resources that we have. So yeah, as Hakon has mentioned before, we have defined a set of 3 steps in order to get your app ready for dual screen devices. So I'm not going to focus in the first one. Hakon has explained that. I'm going to focus in these 2 last steps. So the first one, we are going to see how making incremental changes, so small changes, we can already take advantage of having 2 screens. Even if our app is still not spanned, so we are not really taking advantage of what the 2 screens can allow you, but somehow you can already take the benefit of that. And then we are also going to see how to embrace new features, how to become a hero, a dual screen hero, how to taking advantage of window manager API and our Surface Duo libraries and implementing the different dual screen patterns, so we can really implement amazing new dual screen experiences for your users, so they consume the content in a different way. So let's start with making incremental changes. So the first one, as Hakon has mentioned before, drag and drop. Drag and drop is really useful, so has been there forever, I think, long time already, but was introduced, I think, in Android version 7, so I think Android 7 version 24, the capability to have drag and drop in multi-window scenarios, between 2 apps. So now more than ever, having a device, a Surface Duo, as that we can have 2 apps side by side is when drag and drop is really gives you a lot, for that, we are going to see the code. We are going to see how we can implement that. And I wanted to show you first a small app that is what I implemented, to show you this. Right? We are going to see the code. So This example is based in just two small apps. We have one in the left screen that is called drag, and the other is called drop. So we are going to add the drag functionality in the drag app and the drop functionality in the drop app. Here in this video, we are going to see how we drag and drop the text view that we have in the left screen to the drop area. You are going to see how while dragging, we create a shadow. So we can inform the users that, hey, you are dragging some content. And also, we are going to change the background and the text in the drop area to indicate to your users that, hey, you can drop content here. So I think this is of course, this is up to you, but it's really important always that we give feedback to our users, no? So when we do an action like drag and drop, it should be good that we give the whole time feedback to your users about this interaction. So let's see the video and then explains better what I said. So we drag and then we change the background saying that, hey, you can drop me content now here. And then we move the finger and then come back to the previous state. And now we are really going to drop the content, and then the edit text in the right screen has taken the content. So how we can implement that in code? It's really easy, you will see. So first thing is we are going to implement the drag functionality, okay? This, of course, as Hakon has mentioned before, you can implement drag in your app, you can implement drop, you can implement drag and drop, so your app is ready for providing content and also to accepting content. This is up to you. In this sample, we are going to go in this, like having two different apps. So in this example, what we have is a text view that when we want that when the user does a long click over the text view, is when we start the drag and drop action, okay? So you see here that we are going to implement the set on long click listener of the text view, and this is the function that we implement. First thing that we have to check, no, well, we check that if it's a text view, if it's the correct view, no? And then what we do is taking the content of the text view, we create a clip data item object with the text of the text or of this text view, no, with the real content. Then this is an example. No, we know that this a text plain. No, so what we are going to do is also define the main type that we are going to use that represent the content that we are sharing. In this case, is main type text plain. Then with that, with text and main type, we can already to create a clip data object. That this is the data that we are going to share in the drag and drop interaction. No, so for that we need the tag, the view tag, the name, and then the main type and the text. Then next, we create the drag shadow. This drag shadow, as I said before, is important. This is optional, but this is important because at the end is when the user, as you have seen in the video before, starts the drag action, is where what the user is going to see. No, is that what is below the finger. So yeah, we create the drag shadow as well, and then this is important. For allowing or drag and drop between different apps, we have to use these specific flags. The first one is drag flag global, and then the second one is drag flag global URI red. That is allowing like the content to be used for red consumption. No, and once that we have everything ready, now it's time to just invoke to call the function start drag and drop with the data to share that we have created, the drag shadow that we have created as well, the view, and the flags that we have defined before. And that's all. This is what the drag capability is ready in our drag app. Now we are going to see how to implement drop. So for drop, as you have seen in the video before, is just an app with an edit text, and the edit text is the one that is going to accept content. So for that, what we are going to do is implement the set on drag listener for the edit text, and then we are going to add the functionality there in on drag. So as you see here, on drag has two parameters, view and event, and with the event is we are going to see the different events that are going to be triggered along the drag and drop process. No, as you have seen in the video before, we start dragging. And then as we start dragging, our drop area was changing the color because it's an event that was triggered and we react to that event. The same when our finger was entering the drop area. It's also an event and so on. As the same also when we release the finger and so on. So first thing that we do is we check, we react to the drag event action drag started, and we change the background of the drop area. So we indicate the user, hey, this edit text is ready to get content from the drag and drop action. Then when our finger enters in the drop area, we also have an event, and then we also can react to that event. In that case, also we change again to another different background. This is just for like educational purposes, no? Then when we release our finger and on the drop area, then is when the action drop is triggered, and it's here when we have to handle the drop event. We will see in the next slide what we do here. And then after the drop has done, then we are going to have another event that is called action drag ended. So here you could do, for instance, if you were changing like the background of your drop area in order to inform the user, you could do here like set to the previous or to the default state. No? And we have also another event that is called action drag exit. That is when you enter in the drop area, but then you leave the drop area. This is the event that is going to be triggered. And then otherwise we have other cases, false, we return false. Okay, how we handle drop? Drop, what the first thing that we have to do, because we are doing drag and drop between multiple apps, within two apps, no, is request drag and drop permissions. Once that we get the permission, then we can proceed with that. So our drag event has everything, has the content that was shared starting with the drag action. No, so what we do then is going through the event, the drag event content that we have, get the clip data and the item inside of it. Of course, here we are not doing any check because this is a sample, but you should do some checks. No? Then once that we have the item, we can get access to the text that was shared. We knew that was a text view. This is a sample. So then we can already use the text as then we have already our drag data. That was the text of the text view. Then we are now ready. We know we have the text. We have our edit text. We are ready now to put the text into the edit text. And then finally, we have to release the permission that we got. And if you don't do that, then when the activity is destroyed, it will be released automatically. And that's all. This is, as you have seen, implementing drag and drop between apps is really easy and really powerful. No, you get a lot of benefits for just a super simple implementation. Then what we are going to see now is another small change. This is really small change, but it's also really interesting change in order to also take advantage of both screens. So this is launch an activity to a second screen, to the adjacent screen if the screen is empty. So we can, for instance, we can think in a scenario will be like interesting scenario is, okay, you have created an email app, but your app is not ready for span mode. No, your app just work or is ready for single screen mode, but you want like adding this super simple sample code that when you tap in an email, the email is open in the adjacent screen if this is available. No, so with that, for instance, we can do it, and many other use cases. No. So we are going to see also a short video that explaining what I said. So what we are going to see here is open an activity from our own app in the adjacent screen because this is empty. And then we are going also to let another app, an external app, open a URL. And then this app is also going to be open in the adjacent screen. The precondition is just that the screen has to be empty, as Hakon has mentioned. And this also works. It doesn't matter if your app is in the left screen or is in the right screen, it will work. So let's see the video. So we open an activity in the adjacent screen. This is pretty useful. It's a graphic glitch. And then we let in this case, Edge browser to open a URL. The same, if we move the app to the right screen, it will open a new activity in the left screen, or also we let another app to open the URL. And that's all. So we are going to see now the code. You will see that it's super easy. So in the scenario that we want to open an activity from our app, we do as we know. No, we just create the intent with the second activity. In this case, is second activity is the name of the activity, and here is the key. Here is where we add the different flags. These flags, flag activity multiple task or flag activity new task, is what will make that our new activity is going to be open in the adjacent screen if this is empty. Just with that, and then we just can call start activity with the intent, and it will happen. Of course, if you are thinking, what does it happen if the adjacent screen is not empty? Then your new activity will be launched in the same screen where it was originated. To do the same, to let another app open some content that you are providing, exactly the same. For instance, in this case, we are just creating an intent that is that the purpose is to handle a URL, and then the flags, exactly the same flags, and then just start the activity. And this is what will make that you are able then to launch an activity to the adjacent screen. Super easy. Okay, now we want to become a hero. Now we really want to take advantage of what Surface Duo and new form factor devices provide, no? Like in our case, so when the app is spanned, no? So when you have now 2 screens for your app, now you want to really provide different ways for your user to consume your content, no? So for instance, as we have seen before in Hakon's talk, we have a Hero Apps repo where we have some apps that follow the dual screen patterns that we have, that they are ready, that they are embracing new features, as we say, no? One is the TuneNote app, for instance, and here we have another that is a source editor where you are in the left screen, no, that follows the dual view pattern. In the left screen, you are just typing your code, and then you have the preview on the right screen. So yeah, taking advantage of what dual screen patterns provide will make that your users have a really enjoyable experience, no, in a dual screen device as Surface Duo is. How to implement different dual screen UX UI patterns. So Hakon before has explained the different patterns: extended view, companion pane, dual view, and so on. Now what I'm going to show you is like some suggestions, some tips, some strategies about what you have to do in order to implement those patterns. So the first one is extend canvas. So as we have seen before, this is good for maps, or this is good for like drawing, no, to when you want a big canvas, no, this is really useful for that. Here is pretty easy. So actually you don't have to do basically anything. So your app, imagine your maps app or your drawing app works perfect in single screen. Then you expand the app so it use both screens, and then you are just taking advantage of both screens. The only thing is if probably or maybe you have to handle the hinge so you don't hide information that you don't really wish to lose, no? Another pattern is the 2-page. As Hakon has explained before, this is really useful for reading, no? And actually, for instance, Kindle has enhanced their app, and now when the Kindle app is in span mode, is amazing, because in Surface Duo now you can like read like a book, no? And this is super cool. So you have one screen here, one page here, and another page here. So how to achieve that? This is easily achievable with using an activity and a view pager. And the view swiping from right to left or left to right is you are moving fragments, no? So yeah, this is a pretty easy to implement. And then a tip, a suggestion is also, so in this scenario, when you are reading, if you rotate the Surface Duo into landscape mode, here now swipe from right to left, left to right is probably not a good user experience. So now you should also allow or change the view pager that also works vertically. More list detail, dual view, and companion pane. Those patterns, they are different, but the way to implement those patterns is basically the same. So basically the key thing here is that your activity can have one layout here when in span mode. So you have, for instance, if you are using just one activity, no fragments, or one activity, one fragment, you could have the activity with one fragment or the activity alone, one layout here or another layout here. And every fragment handles its own UI, functionality, and so on. So yeah, this is pretty easy. And actually, with a tip, with our Surface Duo layout library, achieving that, implementing these patterns, is really easy. We will see later how we can use the Surface Duo layout library. Okay, now we have seen how to implement the different dual screen patterns, some strategies, some suggestions, and now we are going to see Jetpack Window Manager. So as Hakon has mentioned before, we have also worked with Google in a more universal library that handles new form factor devices, no? And this is the Window Manager. They have done an amazing work with that, and we definitely encourage you to use the Window Manager. So how to use the Window Manager? The Window Manager is just, you have just to add this dependency to your build Gradle file, and that's all. You are ready to go. As Hakon has mentioned, we are still in alpha, but Google is working really hard on that. Regarding information. So the Window Manager provides you really important information regarding new form factor devices, no? So one thing is the device state, the posture that the device is, no? So for instance, if our device is closed, we are going to get that information, the posture closed. Is closed. This is one of the key things that Window Manager provides, and the other is give us is information about which kind of new form factor device our app is running on. So it can be a type fold for foldable devices, or it can be a type hinge for a device with a hinge, like for instance, Surface Duo. And also, it gives you information about the feature. For instance, in our case, it will give you information about where the hinge is located. It's going to give you a rect object with the coordinates left, top, right, and bottom. The main class or the main access point to interact with the Window Manager is the Window Manager class. And we use its functionality using callbacks, so registering to listen for callbacks, no, for information. So the first thing is register device state change callback that we are going to use when we want to get information regarding the device state. So remember, regarding the posture of the device, if it's half open, if it's closed, open, and so on. Two parameters, executor, where our callback is going to be executed, and the information that Window Manager is going to provide us. Then we have register layout chain callback. This, what we are going to get then is information about which kind of device we have, a foldable or a device with a hinge, as Surface Duo is. And also then the coordinates of the feature, no? In our case, the hinge feature. Of course, if we don't want to use the callbacks anymore, also the Window Manager provides ways to unregister. So one is we can register from the device state changes, and the other we can also unregister from layout changes. Okay, now we are going to see how we can implement, how we can use Window Manager in our apps. As you are going to see, it's really, really easy, and it's really, really powerful. No, the information that Window Manager provides us is really amazing. So first thing is just here in our sample app, we are going to create a latinit variable of the Window Manager. And then here on create, we are going to initialize the Window Manager variable with the context and with a null backend. Regarding that, you can read more regarding backends. You can read more in the documentation. Then here in onCreate, what we can do is register for device state changes. So every time that the posture of our device change, then we are going to get information about that. Another thing, another information that we can get now is on attach to window is where we can register for layout changes. Why on attach to window? Because when the activity has been attached to the window. So if we, for instance, try to register this callback in the onCreate, the app will crash. So here is a good place to register for listening this. Directly to information that the window manager has, but without using callbacks. So in this case, we are on configuration chain that is going to be invoked when the configuration of the device change. No, is we are going to get access to the window layout info that the window manager provides. And here we are going to see if we have a display feature, it means that our app has been spanned. If we don't have any display feature, it means that our app is working in a single screen mode. So this is important to know. When our app is in single screen mode, the display feature information is empty. So it doesn't tell you that you are running in a hinge device or a foldable device. It just is an empty information. But when we do this gesture to expand the app, is where a window manager is going to tell you, hey, this is a hinge device, and those they are the bones of the hinge. Let's see the information that window manager provides in this sample app. So when we are in single screen mode, we can see that our device is open in 180 degrees, then our device is open, the posture is open. And the window layout info, as I said before, here is empty. And then since the window layout info is empty, we can but then if we expand the app, is where we get the information in the window layout info. As you can see here, the posture stays the same. The posture is open. We haven't changed that. But now the window layout info, it has information regarding the hinge. So it's going to tell you, okay, the hinge is located in these coordinates, left, right, top, and bottom. And then this is a device with a hinge. So then, since we get that information, we now know that our app is running in span mode. So with this info is when we can add some adjustment in our UI on our app to show properly the different UI components. The same happens when our app is in landscape mode, So we haven't changed the posture, but now the coordinates of the hinge has changed, Because now regarding the hinge is 1350 and so on. And the same, the app is spanned. As I said before, window manager is really powerful and it's really easy to use, and we definitely encourage its usage. Now we are going to see a set of dual screen libraries that we have built, and we are going to see how we can use them in order to implement dual screen experiences. So the first two things that we are going to see are the layouts. The Surface Duo layout will create single screen or dual screen containers to hold your UI. And the Surface Duo frame layout can span child views or move them to left or to right. We are going to see them now. So the Surface Duo layout was when we are in span mode, we'll use a set of different layouts that we have defined. So here, how to use it? We have an activity, we just define the setup, the layout, and that's all. Then in our XML is where the magic happens, We used our Surface Duo layout, and here we define single screen layout ID. This is here we define a layout that is going to be used when our app is in single screen mode. And when we expand our app, so now it's using both screens at the same time, we define two different layouts, one for the start screen and the other for the end screen. We also provide two different attributes to make your visualization of this in the design view in Android Studio easier. So for instance, we can change the color of the hinge, or we can we can change if we are previewing that in dual screen mode or in single screen mode, as you can see here. So we define the tools screen mode in single screen in our preview, in our design preview mode. We are going to see the app running in single screen mode. So the layout that we define in single screen mode is the one that is going to be shown. And then when we are in span mode, we are going to see one layout, the one that we define in the start and the one we define in the end, with the hinge in the middle. Let's see this in a sample app. So we are in single screen mode. Fine. We are using the single screen layout that we define in the Surface Duo layout. And when we are in span mode, we have one layout in the start screen and another layout in the end screen. If you are wondering, can I use this also with fragments instead with layouts directly? Definitely, you can do that as well. We have actually samples about how to use fragments with the Surface Duo layout in our docs. So please go there and you can check everything. Then we have the Surface Duo frame layout. The Surface Duo frame layout is we will say, a smart layout as well, that allows you that the childs that they are inside of the Surface Duo frame layout, they can be allocated in the left screen and the right screen, or using both screens at the same time. How to use it? We have seen the XML, just using the Surface Duo frame layout, and just here defining the layout using in the activity. Or if you are using a fragment, you can of course use it in a fragment. In this sample app that I'm going to show you, we have defined three buttons that they are going to allow us to move the content to start, to end, or in dual screen mode. So for doing that, our Surface Duo frame layout has a property that is called Surface Duo display position. And Surface Duo display position can have one of these three values. Can have display position start, can use display position end, so then it will move the child views to the end, or can have as well the display position dual. So then it will use both screens to allocate the childs there. Let's see that, probably it's easier. So when our app is running in single screen mode, it's fine. So the layout behaves as a normal frame layout. You have defined there your different items, your different child views, and it's fine. When we are in span mode is when we can say, okay, I want that the child views of the Surface Duo frame layout, now they are in the start screen, in the end screen, or using both screens, taking advantage of the whole width. Another dual screen library that we have is the tab layout. As Hakon has mentioned before, we are extending the functionality of the tab layout that we already have in the framework. So now it works in dual screen scenarios and it's dual screen devices. How to use it? Really easy. We just define, we just use the Surface Duo tab layout in our XML, and that's all. Then in the code, for instance, here in this case in an activity, we already have defined the layout. We are going to set some tabs. In this case, we defined 6 tabs. And then here, what we do is basically it's exactly the same that we did in the Surface Duo frame layout. The tab layout as well has a property that is called, again, Surface Duo display position, and also can have one of the 3 different values: display start position start, display start position end, and display position dual. So depending on which one are you using, the tab will be in the start screen, in the right screen, or using both screens. We wanted to really make your life easier, and that's the reason that our libraries, so the Surface Duo frame layout, the tab layout, the button navigation, these libraries, they have the same attribute, Surface Duo display position, and also they accept the same display position enum. So you don't have to learn, oh, I was using the tab layout, which was this property that I forgot, and now I'm using the button navigation. So everything is the same. So it's really easy to use it and to remember. How the tab layout works? When we are in single screen mode, fine. We have the tab layout there, in this case at the top, with showing the tabs, no, like usual. But then when we are in span mode, we can move the tabs to the start screen, to the end screen, as you can see here, or using the whole width of both screens. As you can see here, the information is not hidden by the hinge, but it could be. So here you have to be aware of that, and if needed, make some changes. We have, as Hakon has mentioned, we have other libraries as Fragment Handler, as Button Navigation, and as our core SDK that use display mask under the hood. All these libraries, you can find information in our docs, so please go there and learn and have a look. Lastly, I wanted also to share something about UI test. UI test is really important. So as important that is test that our UI behaves and shows the information that we expect in single screen mode, the same we want to offer you, the same we want that in both screens, you are able to test the UI components. So for that, we just have to use Espresso and UI Automator frameworks, and it's really easy. So the key thing of UI test in a dual screen device, in a Surface Duo, no, when the app is spanned, is basically doing the interaction of spanning and unspanning. Everything else is the same. So you can set, you can check that your view is here, your view is here, that the, and everything as you have done before, no. But to mirror the span and unspan interaction, we have to use UI Automator. UI Automator has this class, UI device, that we can get an instance of it, and then what we do is just using its swipe function, we give the different coordinates that mirror the span gesture, no? So for instance, we do here, and then we left here the finger, and then our app is span, and for an span is exactly the same, but in the other way around, no? So given the coordinates, we are able to span the app, and then once that our app is spanned, it's time to check if our UI looks as expected, no? And then when we want to unspan the app, is exactly the same. We use the swipe function of the UI device object, different coordinates, and that's all. In this case, for instance, we are showing here the coordinates for unspanning to the left side, but you can do as well, definitely, unspanning to the right side. And actually, if you check our docs, we have there a lot of useful information regarding like the different coordinates that you can use for unspan, for moving one app from one screen to the other, and so on. And then once that our app is in single screen mode, we can again test that our UI now looks in single screen mode as it should. And that's all. So as Hakon has also said, I also would like to share again our different resources. We have worked a lot in providing a lot of good and enough resources for developers. So our main documentation place website, then we have code samples for Java and Kotlin, GitHub repositories, also our Hero Apps repo, and then our Surface Duo SDK with libraries, the button navigation, the tab layout, the frame layout, and so on. Then every week we publish a blog post, so follow us or subscribe to our blog post, and then you will get cool information every week. And then if you want to stay up to date about developer news regarding Surface Duo, follow our Twitter account, and yeah, we will be happy to hear from you. One important thing I wanted to say as well is that all our code repositories are in GitHub, so are open source under MIT license. So you are completely free to have a look to the code, to use the code, and if you find something weird, you even can contribute with us. And that's all. Thank you. That's everything from my side.
Great. Thank you so much, Cesar. We're going to transfer over to Andras now. And this time I have him definitely where he's supposed to be in the list, so we should be able to get him moving here pretty quick, and he can share a screen. And
yeah,
all right.
Cool.
So Cesar, we'll have you turn your screen off, and we'll look forward to Andras turning his on. Then we'll be able to see him.
Can you see my screen?
We can. It needs to be in presenter mode, and then we'll be able to see everything.
Oh, good.
Okay. Cesar, would you mind turning off your screen, please? There we go. I'm going to pop out too. It's all yours, Andras. Take it away.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Hey, my name is Andras. I'm a Android developer at Atlassian, and today I'm going to be talking about how we adapted our application running on Android to the Surface Duo. Hopefully, Jira doesn't require a deep introduction, but if you have not heard about it, it's basically a family of products that helps teams of all types and sizes. It's originally started out as a bug and issue tracking software, but over the years, it evolved into something more powerful, supporting a number of use cases from requirement and test case management to agile software development, ITSM use cases, and so much more. So the team that I'm a member of at Atlassian is called the Jira Native Apps team, and our responsibility is to bring the power of Jira from the web to the native platforms. 4 or 5 years ago, we started out with iOS and Android support with phones initially. Then we expanded into iPad, and most recently, we have released a Mac app. And we're continuously looking into opportunities to expand our offering and support more devices to make people productive anytime, anywhere, independently, whether you're an individual contributor or a person working in oversight role. Cool. So I have this statement, and I stand by it. So the Surface Duo is a brilliant, beautiful device, and it's an exciting form factor that is coming to Android. However, at the core, it's still running Android. So hopefully from the presentations from Hakon and Cesar, it's very, very apparent that it is an Android device. You use the same APIs, drag and drop. So fundamentally, you don't have to change much in your architecture in order to support a Surface Duo. So with that out of the picture, let's see what we needed to do to make Jira work on the Surface Duo. And before I can get into the details, I think I should show what Jira looks on Android. It's a very typical application layout, I think. It uses a bottom navigation as the main navigation view, with individual tabs showing different categories of content in the application, each tab having its own nested navigation stack. Some tabs are a bit more complicated and have a deeper navigation hierarchy. But hopefully it's apparent that most of the content in the application is available in this one single activity. So when we actually started out about 3 months ago, originally we were just thinking about expanding our Android experience to tablets. So we started out with our already successful iPad application, which already uses these kind of list detail patterns, which actually map very, very nicely to the Surface Duo, with the exception that in a traditional tablet layout, the separation would be at some percentage of the screen width, whereas on the Surface Duo, the hinge defines a natural separation. So in order for this for us to do this, we already had a single activity approach. Doing quick tricks like launching something on a secondary screen didn't seem very, very feasible. So we thought we'll lean into this. We still had some lingering activities that are actually very key screens in the application. So we needed to convert these to fragments in order to be able to build them and pull them into our main activity. And hopefully, not just because I say so or Cesar said so, but because it's very apparent that fragments are essential to be able to build flexible, composable user experiences, not just for the Surface Duo, but for tablets, foldables, Chrome OS, and so on, where you can run Android applications. So obviously, the very first thing that we need to do is pull these fragments or activities and make them into fragments. This is a very simple process, so I don't want to spend too much time on it, except for one aspect, and that is handling results from fragments. So these activities were already kind of isolated. They didn't really require much in terms of environments, but we still needed to be able to consume results from them. And if you've been developing Android for some time, you know there's a bunch of ways to solve this. One of them is a simple listener that you can set on a fragment, right? So you define your fragment, you define an interface that will be used to consume a result. And at some point, some parent of that fragment will set that listener. Couple of problems with this, not that the property is nullable, but that we can't really propagate results between sibling fragments. It works nice in a parent-child hierarchy when your fragment is embedded into another fragment or an activity, but sibling fragments don't really work nicely in this setup. Another typical approach would be a shared view model. You scope your view model to an activity, and the fragments can talk to one another. It works nicely for parent-child hierarchies. It works nicely for sibling fragments. However, it's not necessarily always the activity that is the owner of the shared view model. Maybe in most cases it could be. However, your view model's lifecycle will be too broad. And in a single activity application, you have a bunch of fragments and it's not really working out well. Also, in your production app, the parent might be a fragment, but in your tests, when you test your fragments in isolation, the parent is going to be an activity. So you have to put in a bit of code to support both scenarios. And sometimes this distinction is only there for testing, which is not a nice thing in production, right? So Android X introduced an API in Android X Fragment, which is a way to replace one activity result for the case of fragments. This works very nicely for sibling fragments. It works nicely fragments in a parent-child hierarchy. And because we don't really have to know who our hierarchical parent is, it's very good for testing. We don't have to put in the extra code. So just quickly looking at this API, it's very simple. It's two interfaces essentially. One interface is for consuming results, which is very, very simple and very, very similar to on-activity result, except for request code is being replaced with request key, and it's not an int, it's a string. And instead of taking an intent as a result, we'll get a bundle, which is perfectly enough. The second interface is the fragment result owner, which has two main functions. One is to set a result, and the other is to consume a result in a lifecycle-aware manner on a particular key. So we went this approach because it allowed us to integrate these activities that are being converted to fragments very easily into our application with minimal code changes. Cool. So now that we have the foundation laid down in terms of we are able to compose all of our screens into one big activity, we started to build split screen experiences. And let me explain what I mean by split screen experience. This is basically just our internal lingo for generalizing all the dual screen application patterns, but not just in the context of dual screen devices, but also on tablet. So what you can see here is our tablet experience. We are showing a board, which is basically a representation of your work in an agile sprint, which has cards. When you select the card, we show the details of that card that we call an issue on the right-hand side. Also note that when there's nothing selected, the board spans across the screen to be able to show more content to the users. And as I've said before, these kind of layouts, split screen layouts, map very nicely to the Surface Duo the hinge creates a very natural separation, which allows the user to focus on the content that they're interested in. So, as I said before, I'm just using split screen as a umbrella for all these dual application patterns. So in order to support this, when we started out, again, some 3 months ago, we set us a couple of requirements. We needed some solution to be able to align content to either of the screens of the Surface Duo, or to be in full screen, or much rather span in case of the Surface Duo. When we are not running on a dual screen device, or we are running on a dual screen device but only confined to a single screen, we want to make sure that these alignments actually mean the full screen, meaning taking up as much space as possible. And also the solution would have to be orientation agnostic, meaning that we don't want to have explicit left and right, top and bottom, because the user can rotate a device from dual portrait to dual landscape. So we use the lingo start and stop. And the last thing that was important as a requirement for us is support for software keyboard input. The reason is that Jira is a single activity application. This activity reacts to the keyboard being shown by resizing window content. Now, imagine the scenario when you're showing or running the application in dual landscape mode, and you have a view aligned to the bottom screen. The keyboard comes up. The content cannot be obstructed by the keyboard. The window is going to get resized, and the content is going to be pushed to the top screen. However, the keyboard is only going to take up the lower screen, full lower screen. For example, if you're using Swift keyboard, other keyboards will not take up the full lower screen, and our content is going to be intersected by the hinge. And the same happens when the content is spanned across the two screens in dual landscape mode. So that's why we needed a way to realign the content to the top screen, so that we can make sure that the keyboard can take up as much space as possible, but so that the hinge will never intersect with our content. So we created something that we called dual screen frame layout, and this might seem familiar, and I'll get to it in a moment. It's actually a very simplistic layout. As the name suggests, it's a frame layout for dual screen devices that pretty much fulfills these requirements in terms of alignment, and also incorporates software keyboard support for our application. So let's look into how we have implemented this. So the first thing that we need to know is whether we're running on a dual screen device. It's actually very simple. There's a constant. You can query package manager, whether it's just a particular system feature. If it returns true, yeah, cool. We are running on a dual screen device, or more specifically, we're running on a dual screen device manufactured by Microsoft. But we kind of wanted to make the solution as flexible as possible, and to be able to future-proof for upcoming dual screen devices, hopefully. So as Cesar has already talked about, we turn to the window manager that allows us to query whether there's an obstruction or there's a feature on the screen, which can be a hinge or a fold. In this case, we're only interested in a hinge. By the way, the window manager API is basically a way to allow OEMs to extend the platform window manager API to provide information specific for their devices. The second thing that we needed to know is whether we're running, whether our view is spanned across two screens. And it's already been mentioned, there's a API called display mask, which you can use to query the bounding rectangle of the hinge, and then you can just simply check whether that intersects with your application's window. And if it does, eureka, we are spanned. But again, we were trying to make this implementation as future-proof as possible. So going back to the window manager API, it not just only gives you the information whether it is an obstruction or what kind of obstruction or feature there is on the display, but it will also give you the bounding rectangle similar as display mask, but in a more general manner. And then figuring out whether we are intersecting or not is basically the same. Cool. So now that we have the basic informations to be able to calculate positions for our child views, we needed to be able to implement keyboard support. And it's actually much easier than you think. First, we need to know whether there is a view that has focus. It's very straightforward using View Tree Observer and the Global Focus Change Listener, right? Once the focus changes, we get the old, you get the new. If it's changed, we'll call our internal function that says, hey, focus changed, this is the new focus view, which might be null. Once we have that, we basically want to figure out which direct child of the dual screen frame layout this focus view belongs to. So we traverse the view hierarchy and find our direct child. Now we're only interested in views that are either aligned to the end screen or is spanned across the two screens. If it's aligned to start, we're okay because the keyboard is going to come up from the bottom, hopefully. And we save this information and also cache the alignment of this view just to speed things up for subsequent ones. Next thing that we need to know is whether the keyboard is showing or not. And circling back to what I said before, we have a single activity, and this activity reacts to the software keyboard being shown by reciting its window content. It's as easy as checking the bottom insets of the root window insets. So we have the information whether we are spanned. We know that we're running a dual screen device. We know the keyboard is showing. We know whether we need to realign things. So all this information comes together when we lay out our children. So if a view is not aligned to the start screen and keyboard is showing and there's a view focused on either at the bottom screen or full screen, and we are dual landscape, we basically override this alignment and push the content to the top screen. So I know that was a lot of talk, so let me show what that looks like. Hopefully everybody can see the animations properly. On the left-hand side, you can see a example when our backlog view is spanned across the two screens in dual landscape mode. And as you tap the create button, the keyboard comes up and the content is realigned to the top screen. On the right-hand side, you can see the example where we actually have two separate views, one aligned to the top, one aligned to the bottom. And when you tap the comment input field on an issue, the keyboard comes up. The issue view is being pushed to the top screen, allowing the keyboard to take up all the lower screen and prevents the hinge from intersecting with the content. So there's a bit of overlap here. So when we started this journey with the Surface Duo, some of the libraries that Microsoft have already built were not yet available. So I'd recommend using the Surface Duo frame layout unless you require some, you have some custom requirements. But again, this whole implementation for us is under 300 lines of code. Some of them is comments, some of them is empty lines. So I think even if you need to build something, if you have a good reason, it's very, very easy, very, very simple using standard Android APIs or APIs available through Android X. Cool. So now that we are able to compose our screens because we don't have any lingering activities, we have a layout that supports all the dual screen app patterns. It was time to put all these things together and make things actually work. So the first thing that you want to do when you start supporting a new device or form factor or configuration is you need to find layout resources. Now there's just one caveat there. there is no resource qualifier for dual screen devices or for Surface Duo. So you can be very, very explicit about the qualifiers and it's going to work. But again, it might be very specific to one particular device. And in our case, we also wanted to make sure that as we make our changes, we can continuously ship code without holding off the changes in long living branches. And we also wanted to be able to feature flag this so that we can turn the support on when we feel it's all right and it's ready for consumption. And it's not really possible with resource qualifiers because they're going to be automatically picked up by the system as the configuration changes. So what we did is we introduced this concept that we call screen presenters. Don't worry, it's not the presenter as in MVP. They are responsible for presenting a UI for a particular configuration, but they're much more lightweight than an MVP presenter. They handle navigation insets, and I'll explain in a bit what I mean by that. They support compile time and runtime configuration, as we don't rely on the resources being loaded based on qualifier and configuration. And for every screen, we have a presenter implemented for different form factors that we are support. So there is one for phone, one for tablet, and one for dual screen devices. They're really, really lightweight. They're ephemeral, meaning that we create a new one on each configuration change. But that's true throughout the application. We don't really handle configuration change inside our activities. We let the system destroy things and recreate it because some things are easier, and this has worked out for us so far. What we lose is the potential to customize animations and configuration changes, but so far this has been an okay compromise. So, as I said, there's no magic here. A presenter is basically an interface or an abstract class that is responsible for creating a layout for a fragment. It's also responsible for displaying child fragments in an appropriate way, or in a way that is appropriate to the device form factor they are supporting. Each one comes with a factory. Again, nothing too exciting there, but this allows us to hook in our feature flagging. So if we want, we can turn off dual screen or tablet support and let the application run as a phone application on the Duo without the enhancements, or we can turn it on and instantly get the enhancements that we have built for dual screen devices. So I mentioned navigation insets. It's actually a generalization of the concept that I call application insets. So what you can see here is our tablet experience. The content is being inset at the bottom by the bottom navigation and by the toolbar at the top. It's actually just being shown in the middle of the screen. However, if you look at the Surface Duo, it's a bit more complicated. We want to be able to utilize the secondary screen in its full height. And we confine our navigation views and the toolbar to one screen only. So in this case, the content has to be displayed between these two navigation views. But on the right-hand side, we want to be able to expand it to the full height. So in order to understand why this concept is important, let me walk you through the hierarchy of our screens. So we start with our main activity, which basically fills out the whole window. The main activity owns the bottom navigation view, which is being confined to one side of the screen. Now, for every tab, our tab content is actually also filling out the full screen and is being laid out behind the bottom navigation view. Then we go one level deeper. We are inside our tab fragment, which displays a toolbar on the left-hand side. but the actual content inside it is displayed again inside the full screen. So if we go to the left-hand side of the screen, and this is where we're using our dual screen frame layout, the content expands to the height and width of the full left-hand side screen. But the content is actually being confined to be displayed between the bottom navigation and the toolbar. Whereas on the right-hand side, there is no insetting and the content expands to the full right-hand side screen. So that means that we need to provide a way for different parts of the screen to inset themselves either through padding or margins to be able to dodge these navigation views. So we basically introduced a very, very simple API. It's a data class describing the insets pretty much as a window insets would that I'm hopefully you're familiar with it from the platform. An interface or a Lambda to consume these insets and a way to register these listeners to be updated when these insets are changing. These app inset interfaces are basically just registered in the view hierarchy under tags. And the way you find it is you traverse the view hierarchy up until you find an inset. This means that we don't have to subclass views. We can hook insets at any level of the application and change the inset, add additional insets or remove insets as required. And the last bit that was important for us, as I mentioned, we consider UI to be ephemeral. So when there's a configuration change, the activity is going to get destroyed with all the fragments and going to get recreated. We wanted to make sure that, as on the Surface Duo, when you go from one screen to two screens, we show content on both screens. But when you go from the two screens and go to one screen, the content from the secondary screen is overlaid on the left-hand side screen. And the way we did this is we use symmetric IDs in our layouts for all supported device configurations, which means that if a fragment is attached to a container in one device configuration and the configuration changes, the fragment is going to get automatically reattached to the same ID. So we don't have to do manual fragment management. So just to show what I mean and how this looks like, on the left-hand side, you can see a typical layout that we use for phones. We have a frame layout, and in the frame layout, we have a main container and a detail container, and these sit on top of one another. And they have the IDs respectively, main container and detail container. Whereas for the Surface Duo, the content is the same. We still have two frame layouts, one called main container or ID'd as main container, and one ID'd as detail container, except now they are sitting in dual screen frame layout. And with the alignments, we align it to the start screen and the end screen. So as you go from phone to dual screen, a different presenter is going to get created. It creates the appropriate layout and applies the inset as needed. However, it doesn't have to do anything specific about reattaching fragments as the configuration changes. So eventually, all of our screens are built up like this. We have a container fragment, which is responsible for handling the content for the whole screen, inside which there is a presenter, which is either a phone presenter, a dual screen presenter, or a tablet presenter. That creates its appropriate layout. And in the layout, we have symmetrical containers or container IDs. And our fragments are stacked into these two containers, basically having a main stack and a detail stack. And that's all to supporting the Surface Duo on for Jira. And hopefully, what I've just been talking about makes it very, very clear that most of what we have done, apart from the dual screen frame layout, everything else is there for supporting tablets and foldables. The only part that is really specific to the Surface Duo is the dual screen frame layout. which you don't even have to implement because Microsoft is already providing libraries for this. So thanks for listening. I think that will be all from me for today.
Andras, thanks so much. Really, really appreciate it. Great to have you here. Appreciate also you calling in from Sydney. I'm going to ask Uli, my colleague here, to share his screen. We're going to be able to now get into the Q&A section. I did want to give just a quick heads up. We've got a lot of great questions. We're really excited to get the rest of the panelists in here. In fact, I'd ask Hakon and Cesar to turn on their webcam so that we can see you as well. We'd like to do that. And we will, just so you know, that Hakon at the beginning of the webinar mentioned something about a drawing of a Microsoft Surface Duo device. We just wanted to give you a heads up that from the top 10 questions that were voted, we'll do a random drawing. We've got the names of the top 10 questions. We will be reaching out, and then I'll put you in touch with Hakon to do that. So that'll happen offline, and I think we agreed, Hakon, latest Friday that we would get that information out, right?
Yes, yes,
So if
immediately.
you're in the top 10, you've got good chances. So before, I'm going to shut off my webcam here and allow you guys to take it away. Please just read the top question. As soon as you're done reading it and where you're answering it, we'll flip to the next one. Take it away.
Cool, thanks. So I will try to answer some of these, and I'll defer to Andras and Cesar when I can't. First question is obviously a very, very good one. Something that I have many stories about, but the question is, how would you sell a company on supporting Duo? It can be difficult for us devs, yes, to convince management to support niche devices like the Duo, yes. Right now, it is the first generation of this type of device. There's some things that you can think of and that we also use when we talk to clients and partners and people that are excited about the device and people that we really want to enhance their applications for the device. Looking at the history of the Surface hardware program at Microsoft started about 10 years ago, and now is I believe, a $5 billion business. The Surface team has an appetite for creating innovative devices and to spend some time in a particular area to build that market. And so while Duo is a niche device today, that's not necessarily going to be the case. And so I would one way to go about it is to show the history of the Surface program and the Surface devices as an example of where this form factor and these type of devices can go. But yes, it is tough conversation. So that's why we also have worked with partners on various different incentives, co-messaging, co-marketing, integration into the OS as a stub or as a preloaded application. That can be interesting to the marketing and the business teams at the corporations. And then there are, if the conversation starts with, so how many devices are there out there, then it's always a tough one. And then you have to sort of go after the incentives. But if there is some appetite for exploration, some appetites for your company to show that they're innovative and a thought leader in the mobile application space, then might be a path to go as well. But yeah, it is a hard thing to do. And I don't know if Cesar or Andras, you have any color commentary on that.
Cesar?
I will say that, yeah, I think new form factors is something really important for the Android ecosystem, no? And even Google is pushing hard with that, no? So we are just in the beginning, no? And definitely, I believe that will be like a really, this is the future, I believe.
Yeah. So what I can add is I stand by what I said on one of my slides, that the Surface Duo is an exciting device. As an enthusiast, I want to check and want to implement things for new devices. But from an engineering perspective, I think most of the work is not that hard. If you can sell it that way, that, hey, there's this exciting thing. It's not just one device. Maybe now it's one device, but it's a new form factor. I think that shows a more broader perspective.
And also the work that, as Andras also talked about, the work that's being done to create an experience on the dual screen, in many cases apply to the single screen foldables as well. And I'm not sure anybody doubts that the single screen foldable is a viable form factor. And
And not just single screen foldables. I think a lot of those things are working for like a tablet-sized device as well. So I think there's a lot of work that you can do that is not specific to this one device or this one form factor.
Yeah, so let's say that you're going to build an experience that takes advantage of a larger screen space. With a little bit of extra work, you can add an experience to the dual screen, the hinge-based dual screen device as well, for a small cost, small additional cost. So there are different ways to go about it. Depends on your management, depends on the appetite that they have. You have to sort of mirror the pitch based on what kind of people they are and what their priorities are. Okay, let's move on to the next question. In Android, there is only one active foreground activity, even with multi-window. Is Span just a single app activity that is displayed across both screens? And the answer is yes. Cesar, Andras, do you want to comment further?
No, I think that summed it up.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Good
Just one.
question, though. Yeah. Okay, so moving on. Will the Surface Duo layouts also work on phones of other manufacturers that have multi-screen support? Is it based on Android libraries or on Microsoft private ones? Well, originally it was we used the Display Mask API, but right now we're moving everything to the official Window Manager Display Feature API. So Cesar, do you want to comment further on that?
Yeah. So exactly. So as Hakon has said, originally exactly all our libraries, they are backed by the Display Mask API, that internally we use. But we are working since so Window Manager was released. We are really embracing Window Manager, and we want also that our libraries under the hood they use Window Manager instead of our Display Mask. So when we achieve that, when we migrate or refactor our libraries that use Window Manager, that we are working currently on that, then they should be fine for any other kind of new form factor device.
So I want to add that Microsoft is not in the business of creating new APIs that Microsoft sort of publishes. We are in the business of creating a device and creating form factor that may require new APIs, but we want to upstream those into the Google API ecosystem and not have separate type of APIs with separate SDKs. And so the reason that we had Display Mask API was that there was a time frame while we were working with Google that we needed that for some close partners that are like our internal teams to be able to reason over the hinge. And so we're not in the business of creating separate APIs for this particular device or any Android device for that matter. Okay, next question. Is it possible to always open an app span or to handle that from the application itself? Super good question. We are asking ourselves that as well. Right now, it is not, but we're actually working on ways that could be done while still maintaining the user controls. Because one of the important principles is to always have the user to be in control and not be surprised, have a predictable experience. So right now, the user has to physically sort of use a gesture to span the application when it's using the application on the device. There are some ADB commands that are separate, but that's a different story. But we do want to maintain a span state across different usage scenarios. So when you close the device and open device, we want the span states to maintain. So we're working on that on an OS update. And we're also considering ways for the application to request to be spanned. Naturally, the system would have to be an arbiter and a sort of a policy handler in between that and the action actually happen, because the user needs to be controlled. And you can never span over something else that the user is doing unless the user wants that. So yes, we're working on having applications be able to span. It's not available today in the OS that runs on Duo today. Do you want to add something, Cesar?
No, everything clear.
Okay. Okay, having a dual screen could bring new gaming experiences. Yes. Are you working with game developers to integrate their games with Surface Duo with special features? Yes. We are working, we actually have some devices going to, I think, Gameloft, and there's others that are interested as well in understanding what they can do with a device like this. Obviously, if you ever played a Nintendo, I think DS, it's very obvious that that could be a scenario. And so we're also considering how we can build platform functionalities on top of Android that allows gaming applications to have a standard sort of controller set. But obviously, its application can also build its own sort of touch controller experience when it's spanned across the two screens. So gaming is definitely a focus for us. although initially the Duo target is for professionals to be able to do more on the go. All of us want to play games as well. So yes, very much a motivation for us. Okay, next one. Hakon, Cesar, currently our app appears to treat the dual screen as one large screen. Are there flags or APIs to force apps to stay on one screen in the interim? There is not. The user is in control of whether or not the application is spanned. So if the application is spanned by the user and the experience is not good, there are two things that can happen. The user unspans the app and continues to use it, or you get some feedback from the user saying, hey, could you do something to make this experience better when it's spanned? But right now, there's no way to prevent the application from being spanned programmatically. Cesar, do you want to add anything to that?
No.
Okay. Okay. Are the Android API improvements Microsoft has contributed to Android included with Android 11? And how soon will Android 11 be pushed to Duo? That first question answer is yes. And other things that we're working with Google on as well. And Android 11 on Duo. So the Duo has I think a 3-year SLA for customers in terms of OS updates. So you can imagine that both 11 and 12 might find its way to the Duo. The time frame we're not able to talk about right now, but the team is working hard on bringing up Android 11 on Duo. Any APIs that are different from Samsung's Foldable? I don't know the Samsung Foldable APIs. Cesar, Andras, do you know?
I don't know of any specific ones, right? But if you look at the window manager API that has been mentioned by all three of us, that's not just for the Duo. That's also for foldables.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think Samsung does have some SDKs and some APIs that they want applications to use on their devices, but I'm not familiar with those.
Yeah.
And as I said, Microsoft do not want to do that. If we really have to, in the time frame between a new capability on the hardware, let's say our next generation device has a new capability that we want applications to embrace, and we have some partners that want to embrace that functionality, we may create an API on top of or to the side of the Android APIs in the meantime, and then work with Google to get those into the official API sets. And this is a question for Cesar. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, sure. So, hello, Cesar. Is there a code equivalent to the XML attributes in the Surface Duo specific layouts? This is actually a very good question because I forgot to cover that. We definitely, so I saw how to do it in code, but definitely also we provide a set of, I believe, 2 attributes that you can use that to define where you want to show the content, no, start, end, or dual, also in XML. So if you don't want to do it in code, you definitely can do it in XML. Also for all our different libraries. So good question, good question.
I think
Okay.
I had a sample of that, one of my slides.
Great.
Definitely, yes.
Okay, next question. As I've been using the Duo, I see the potential for the device, but performance has been concerning. How serious is Microsoft about supporting the Duo long term? We're all engineers. We're all been part of a product and the fire drills to get it out the door, and we all know that we sometimes ship with issues that can be improved on. And I'll say that we have a team of hundreds of people right now working on the next OS update and working on all kinds of ways to improve and fix bugs and improve the performance of the device. It's not perfect because it's a V1 and because we're all learning, but it's definitely a usable device right now. We have lots of positive and neutral reviews out there, and obviously there are some concerns and some bugs, but I'll say that yes, we are very serious. The 2nd generation device is already being planned, and so it's something that we are sticking with. I think we can say that we are very motivated to build a family of dual screen devices and improve the performance of the Duo, obviously. Okay, is it possible to control the keyboard when the application is spanned? Ability to choose if it appears or not on the left, on the right, on the center? I think not, but Cesar, do you know?
Yeah, no, it's not possible. There is not a way that we provide an API or something to do that. It's just so the keyboard when in span mode behaves as in any other in single screen mode. It's exactly the same.
Yeah, the user is able to move the keyboard around and to disconnect it, to sort of undock it also if it wants to, but the application cannot.
Exactly. For instance, our Swift key keyboard that is pre-installed in the device, you can do that. You can move the keyboard from left to right, and without any problem. Or also moving like floating state. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Next question: which of these 3 frameworks would you recommend? React Native, Xamarin, and Flutter. Flutter? I don't know. What do you think, guys? We like Flutter.
Yeah, if I had to choose, I would say Flutter. But if you're not thinking about cross-platform, then I see big potential for Jetpack Compose to be really awesome for the Surface Duo and in Android in general. But Flutter if it's cross-platform.
I also will say that depending of your knowledge, no, if you are like coming from the web world, no, React Native is really easy to pick up, no, it's JavaScript, TypeScript, easy. Also coming from, something about React, it's really easy to put into React Native. Xamarin the same. If you are coming from the .NET world, it's really easy. The APIs are really good. When they release Google or Apple release the new version, they quickly update the APIs and so on. And Flutter is really cool. Dart is a good language. You see the changes when you change something in the UI. You see them like immediately. So I would say it depends.
Possibly that's the best answer, actually.
Whatever's easiest for you, I guess. Whatever you know the best, because they all work. Can we create apps for the Duo using Uno framework? I think we work with the Uno folks, don't we, Cesar?
Yep. Actually, I believe we even have a blog post about that.
We have a dev blog post about it. The links that are in this presentation, both mine and Cesar's, you can go and look at the dev blogs, search for Uno there. So yes. Next question is, regarding the emulator, there are 2 ways to run it, either through the Intel acceleration or through the Hyper-V acceleration. Which one do you recommend? I remember we worked on that. I don't have a recommendation, Cesar. Andras, do you have one? They should both work.
On Mac just works Intel acceleration, so this is the easy answer.
Right. Right. That's a good question. I don't think we have a yes or like a binary question, a binary answer to that. So moving on, how long did it take Atlassian to add foldable support to the Jira app? Andras, I think it was a couple hours.
Yes, definitely a couple of hours. No, so we kind of had a quarter, but as I said before, it's kind of really hard to separate the actual tablet support and dual screen support because most of the work we would have done anyway. So what it took time is for designers to come up with the ideas, and that was an evolutionary process. From an engineering perspective, we built that custom dual screen frame layout, which was the biggest part of the whole work. So it's hard to say. All in all, I would say not more than 2 months, but that's not just net dual work. It's far less.
Far less than 2 months. I think it's very case by case. Is very dependent on the architecture of your application.
Yeah, exactly. But in context of Jira, it wasn't that hard. And again, in a quarter we could do this. We can still improve it though.
Right. Since you mentioned design iteration, when we work with ISV partners and we want to work with you guys as well, we work directly and we have designers that can iterate in real time, designer to designer, engineer to engineer with you to explore how your app could take advantage of the dual screen device. That's something we can arrange offline, obviously, but if you're interested, please reach out to us. Okay, let's take the next question. Love how we have a way to get the angle of the hinge. I wonder how we can use that. Yes, how we can use that. What our dev lead guy, he had this idea of a bird game where you flop the hinge to make the bird fly. I don't know. I don't know. You guys come up with something, and the best idea, I'll send a Surface Duo to.
Yeah.
Okay. How would the video player work? Can we use both screens to play video? You can Actually, I saw this guy who had both the Google gaming streaming service and the Microsoft streaming service running on each screens. You obviously can open one video playing like I don't know, HBO Now on one screen, and you can open Netflix on the other. I think you're asking if you can basically play one video to one person on one screen and the other video to another person looking that way. And today you cannot, because we turned the one screen off when you reach a certain hinge angle, but we're working on having a proper tent mode in the future OS update where both screens can be active at once. I don't know if that answered the question, but video playback is not just one app. It could be many different apps, and two of them can run at the same time, each using each of the screens, because they're kind of separate entities. Okay, is the keyboard spanning both screens part of the dual screen spec? That's one thing I'd like to see instead of only one screen. Yeah, we actually had the SwiftKey team did a lot of user research on sort of how easy it is to use the keyboard on the dual screen device, because it is, it is interesting. Do you type like this, or do you type? Let's see, you type. Where'd it go? Yeah, I can't figure it out. There we go. Do you type like this, or do you want to mostly type like that? And so one of the prototypes we had did span the keyboard, and it's still in code, but it didn't ship. So it's an ongoing user research open question whether or not that's a good idea. Okay, how do you determine is keyboard showing? For current devices, the only feasible way seems to be listening to the view tree observer and detect height changes. Cesar, do you want to take that one?
The same thing. So at the end, we haven't here or reinvented the wheel, or we haven't created anything new, no? So it's exactly the same. Android is running Android 10 and handles the keyboards as any other device running Android. So exactly the same. And right now, keyboards they are always tough to deal with, and yeah, right now the view tree observer is the way.
Yeah.
But there are improvements coming in Android 11, so when the Surface will support it.
Yep. Is it possible to have full height on one screen, i.e. only having the Android top bar on the left? I think you mean going full screen and like games do, and yes, that's possible. If that's what you mean. Application can go full screen on the Duo as well, like in any other Android device. How long is it guaranteed update support period for the Surface Duo phone? 3 years. I've been working with the Duo API for drag and drop, and I have issues getting images to work. Any tips, Cesar?
Oh, there is not a lot of info here about the problem. So I will say that we have a sample actually that is implementing drag and drop for both text and images. So probably you can get there the solution to your problem. And because
we also have, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, that it works. So probably there you can see the code snippet and use it in your app as well.
We also have a forum where we can communicate with you guys on issues like this, where we can ask more specific questions about what the error is and what the issue is. Maybe you can share some code snippets and we can look at them and figure out what's going on. We definitely want to get involved that way with you guys.
Yeah, this is a good idea. Mm-hmm.
And the link to that is in these slides as well. Will there be an easy way to tell whether an application is dual screen optimized, or even a list of apps from the Play Store that designate this? That's one of the things that I'm working on. We're working on building a functionality that some OEMs already use, where when you open the Play Store, you can have this little button that says, that shows, in this case, it could be called dual screen apps. It's basically, when you click on that, you get a curated list of applications that have been enhanced. Right now, there's obviously not a lot of them. That's why we're talking to you guys, but there's about a dozen. And as soon as we get information from Google on how to implement that, we will do that so that when you open the Play Store app on the Duo, you'll have that little button. You can click on it and up comes a curated list that will be maintained over time so that it evolves and adds the new applications that are dual screen optimized or dual screen enhanced. It doesn't exist yet, but we're working hard on it because our corporate VP wants it really bad. Okay, any way to interact with the lock screen peak? I'd love to add more information to it instead of just notification icons. We had lots of great plans for the peak mode. it's coming in the future update, but right now, no. Cesar, is that correct?
Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. Next one is, do these new layouts and patterns introduce any new memory leak concerns that we should be aware of? I don't think so.
This is, as
No, I
always,
don't.
is up to how you implement these dual screen patterns, or how you use the layouts. No, so for instance, at least internally in our code, we really take care of that. I mean, we really work on that. No, we have our weak references, and we try to deal always with with memory problems and performance. So right now we are not aware about any of our libraries they produce any memory leak, but as always it's software, so it could happen, and your code exactly the same.
Yeah,
You're saying somebody could actually, somebody could write code using these things that creates memory leaks. That's what you're saying.
Oh, with everything.
Yes.
With a text view, you can also create memory leaks with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think our management says something like, anytime there's a change to a code, you risk regressions, and so they don't want to change code. Anyway, next question is for Andras. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, so what do your team feel was the biggest value add that sold them on supporting the Duo's features? Well, one, we're always looking into expanding into new platforms and form factors to make people really productive on their device, on the device of their choice. And we really think that the Surface Duo is very good for productivity, and especially Atlassian is building software for software professionals, right? This really allows you to be able to multitask, to do things quicker. If you open the device, you're looking at one screen, you can quick glance things, do small interactions. But when you open it up, you can do a bit more deeper interactions. So we think it's a good productivity device. And again, because we didn't really have to invest that much because we were already working on big screen support.
Thanks. Next question is, when can we expect the next Surface Duo update? I assume you mean operating system update. And we're on a monthly cadence, so we launched September 10th. So, a month later, there'll be an OS update if we can, meet our SLAs there. So our post-launch engineering team, sustain engineering team is working hard on getting that out the door a month after. So October, first, second week of October.
Okay.
If all goes well.
If the question was, when is the next Surface Duo hardware coming in?
If that was the question, I'd say back to the sort of does Microsoft have an appetite for this form factor? I'd say that there is a huge team working on that. We cannot share any release dates.
Cool.
Okay. Is it possible to change how screen casting works? I'd love to be able to cast one screen to a device TV and use the other for other things. I would have loved that too. For this presentation we did today, I would have loved to have some speaker notes on my device while I'm casting the presentation to the screen, because I get nervous when we talk to people, and so that would have helped. But yeah, it's not possible right now, but it's a good feature request. We'll take that back to our product teams and as a suggestion. Thank you. Next one is, what is going on in the background in extended canvas apps when you are dragging objects within the app from one screen to the other, like in Solitaire? What's going on in the background? I don't understand that, sorry.
So if you're using the drag and drop API, then it's basically standard drag and drop API. I don't think there's anything specific there.
What's going on in the background? Hey, Brad, if you can get back to us offline, we'd love to dig into that and answer that question better. I think in the interest of time, we'll just move on to the next one. Sorry. Will you be sharing the presentation? I think this is all recorded, isn't it, Greg?
Yes, it sure is. It'll be online. It'll be online tomorrow.
Okay.
If the question is whether the slides are being shared, I'm not sure if that was the question.
Slides as an electronic file. haven't checked that. There's some information there that there's nothing obviously secret in there, but maybe share them as a PDF. That could be something we can think about. I'll work with Greg on that to make sure that we get that out to all the attendees if we decide to release it as a PDF.
Sure thing. We'll help out.
And Greg, if you hear that that can help people with their conversations with management and business so priorities, then we definitely want to do that.
Very good. Okay.
Okay. How are we for time?
Well, we're in now 2 hours and 5 minutes. We do have let me see here. We do have quite a few. 1, 2, 3, 4. Probably another dozen questions. So we might want to. I do want to try to get to all these. So maybe if we can just blast through them really quick.
We'll power through. That's cool. So I'm sorry for Andras though, because he's
No, it's okay.
getting sleepy down there in Australia. Okay. Will gestures like pinch for Zoom work if the fingers are touching different screens? Yes, they will. Can you share any sales figures? Wondering how many devices are out there so we can say we need to support this to our PMs? No, sorry. That's not our decision. That's our product team's decision. We actually never get to know that kind of stuff. What's the approximate weight and method count of the Surface Duo SDK libraries? It's super light, but Cesar?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. They are really light because we are not using like external libraries or, but I don't know the numbers, but it's good. We can check that. We can check that and share as well in the docs.
Cool. Next one. Does angle sensor return an integer or a screen state? It's a number. It's a hinge. It's a degree basically, from 0 to 360.
I think the window manager API does return some predefined postures.
That's right. That's right. So you can use both, I suppose, and figure out things if you want to do. If you know that it's folded, and anyway, the screen, the sensor and the hinge angle sensor is kind of like a thing that you would query or read in real time to figure out what's happening and then do something interesting in your app UI as the angle changes.
Exactly. So for instance, for fine tuning, window manager will never tell you like this angle. So we'll tell you this, no? But listen to our sensor, then you will get like everything, no? The fine tuning, you could get the whole 360 degrees.
Yeah. Back to that flapping bird game. Okay. Is it possible to have one app open in one screen and two apps in the other screen, splitting the other screen horizontally? No, that is not possible. Is it, Cesar?
I'm not completely sure. I never have tried that. So
I could not make that happen. So
oh, you tried.
So yeah, of course.
Yeah, I wonder, we should dig into multi-window support and if that's something that we can build into the future. Thank you for the question. Is it possible to create gestures like throwing the app to the left, right to trigger some actions, like in Tinder or in Amazon? Throwing the app.
So if they are asking about moving the app from with a gesture from left to right or right to left, we definitely can. Actually, that's the way with a gesture. But a part of that, Surface Duo runs Android 10, so we have the gestures for like back, no, and
I think inside the app, let's say the app is spanned and you have UI elements inside the app, you can totally do whatever you want with the touch input, right?
Exactly, you can create what you want.
Yeah, but the system gesture support doesn't have a gesture where, or it doesn't have animation of windows that when you, let's say you throw an application and it hits the side of the screen and then it bounces around or stuff like that. We don't do that. We just move it from one screen to the other. Okay, moving on. Is there any app bundle optimization that helps on not shipping custom Surface Duo code to non-Surface Duo devices?
Not a bundle optimization per se, but so the way that we could achieve that right now will be in a multi-APK scenario. So you could create an APK with like your standard app, no, and another APK, another version of your app with using flavors, no, with that contains code that handles Surface Duo or other new form factors. So this will be the way right now.
Also, you can utilize app bundles and dynamic features if you really wanted to, and that's an ultimate way of not shipping code to a device that is not needing it, or a feature when it's not needed at all.
Okay, the next question we've kind of answered already. Can we decide to launch our app in a specific mode on Duo, like on launch on the app should be span mode instead of depending on the user to span the app? Right now, all apps launch on a single screen, and the user has to span the application to create that experience, to showcase that experience. But as I mentioned earlier, we're working on. We realize that there are certain device states where the span state should be retained, and there's also an interest from like this audience and from other ISVs to be able to programmatically span, but the user must be in control. So this is a future OS update and doesn't exist today. From your point of view, which type of applications will find the best usability with the Duo? I feel that we talked about some of those things. But all applications obviously will benefit from a device that you can have two applications running at the same time. But the Duo right now is I know for professionals on the go to do more, to get more done. And so I would think that in most cases it's about, the stuff that we do daily, getting stuff done, answering email, creating content that requires sort of moving content from one application to the other. It's really up to each application team to decide if the dual screen form factor is of value to the use cases and the user of that application. Cesar, Andras, do you want to add some commentary to that?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Cesar, go.
No, please, Andras.
No, you must go ahead.
Please.
Yeah, no. So I just wanted to say, yeah, productivity applications definitely. Games could use the screen, but in general, I think the effortless multitasking on a device is actually beneficial, even if applications don't have explicit support for a Duo. I just mean if I use a tablet and I want to have split screen mode, there's a bit more hassle. So it's there, but that's why I don't use it, because it's a hassle. So it's very good for multitasking in general. Sorry,
Cool.
Cesar.
That's great.
Yeah, I will just say that also. So in general, any application that you want to show the content to your users in a different way. So you want to take advantage of both screens, then following one of these dual screen patterns or any other that comes to your mind, no, can benefit of that, no. So I would say that everything is up to the imagination of everyone.
Okay, next question is, will the Surface Duo be available outside the US? We've been developing for months on the emulator and would love to show it to our customers. Well, if you've been developing for months, we want to get in touch with you so you can send you hardware so you can use that to show it to customers. As for the first part of the questions, we are not able to answer that at this point. It's a US only device at this point in time, but it doesn't mean it stays that way forever. It's just something that we can't talk about. Our product team says, no, don't talk about that. In single screen mode, exactly the same as a normal phone, because the Duo is wider, could have different single screen mode. It is a different aspect ratio and a different screen size, but it behaves exactly like another device. As I mentioned in my portion of the talk, there are applications that make some assumptions on the aspect ratio or the screen metrics that makes the UI of that application kind of look a little bit different. But an application should just work. Any application that runs on Android 10 should just work on the Duo in a single screen mode. Can we run Linux on one screen? I want to write Kotlin libraries there on the go when inspiration strikes. Why don't you come join us and build that feature? That sounds like you could do that. So no, you can't do that today. I mean, it's a software. It's a device you could probably figure out a way to load Linux on it.
But for instance, if you want to do that, there are, I think, tools in the cloud, no, that you are able to code. So with your browser, so you definitely can do that. Yeah, you just can code in the browser and compile in the cloud, and that's all you can achieve.
And these days we have something called remote desktop, so you can remote into your Linux machine and have that on one, and then watch Netflix on the other, potentially. That's a great idea, though.
All right.
Yeah.
But if you just want to write Kotlin code, there's a IDE called AID, where you can write even Android apps on the go on Android. So you could give that a go if Linux is not a requirement, more like churning out Kotlin code.
Well,
Cool. So thank you guys. Appreciate it.
thank you so much, Andras, Hakon, Cesar. It was really great to have you. Appreciate it. It was a marathon, a lot of Q&A there. Really, really appreciate it. I think there were a lot of good questions too, very informative. So thanks so much. And again, if you've missed anything or had to step away for a little bit, anybody, the videos will be online tomorrow. Oh, wait, we just got a last minute question coming in. Any chance you want to take the last word on that, Hakon?
I don't know what the question is. I'm looking for IntelliJ idea.
If it means that you want to run IntelliJ idea in the front end, you cannot.
If it was a question or a comment on what I've said, it's AIDE.
Ah, okay. The ID that you mentioned, Andras. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, the A is at the front, not at the end. So it's not IntelliJ anyway. So.
Okay.
Okay. So did we answer the question?
Looks like we did. All right.
Okay. Great.
Anyway, gentlemen, thanks so much. You all have a great evening, day, night, and early morning for you, Andras. We'll see everyone next time. All right. Take care.
Yes. Thank you, Andras.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Andras.
Thanks for having us. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.